about Sainsbury's. It's one of the biggest grocery stores in the UK, and they've sacked 3,000 people, including, as it says here,
Hey, hey,
20%
hey.
reduction in
Oh
seating
shit, this
arrangements.
shit works,
So
bro.
it goes here, Sainsbury's job cuts just the start as costs soar in UK retail. Higher taxes loom just as
Oh,
stores
the
grapple with
controller
real
microphone
demand.
works.
Businesses warn revenue-raising budget will
Hey.
drive up prices. And I was reading through this, and I was really shocked here because of this here. Other retailers will likely have to follow Sainsbury's lead, said Joshua Bamfield, director of the Center for Retail Research.
Let's
He
get it.
predicted more than
Let's get
200,000
it.
retail jobs could be lost this year, the most since the COVID-19 pandemic. Um, I mean, I'm not surprised. After
Bom
that
bom
budget
beedom bom
last
bom
year,
bom
I think it was
dee
October
dom dom
30th,
dom ding
it
dom
was a
dom.
budget to help the public
Yeah,
sector.
yeah, yeah.
It punished the private sector, and now we're seeing the consequences of it. And I just want to bring this up here, Clive. This is a political cartoon from the early 1900s, and this was a conservative cartoon, and it says socialism throttling the country. And I think that's very much in play today. Unfortunately, both parties are socialist these days. So, what do you think is happening? Do you think this is by design, or they're just really incompetent? Some people think that they're doing this by design because Keir Starmer once said that he prefers Davos to Westminster, and maybe he wants to make sure that we own nothing and that we'll be happy. And this is a way to do it. Just wanted to know your more balanced opinion on that.
Well, all companies, Sainsbury's included, are under pressure to increase their profits because if they don't do so, the directors are under risk of either not getting re-elected or worse, the company gets taken over and they're all fired. And their bonuses will depend on higher profits. So when there's some news like we're raising national insurance contributions on companies, the effect of that is companies say, oh my God, that's going to eat into our profits. We're going to use that as our excuse to manage things and manage the cost down. So how are they managing the cost down? Well, they have the solution at their fingertips. And the solution is these automated checkout machines where customers can come in and check themselves out, and that's going to get better and better. Right now, I mean, you've probably seen that in the supermarkets now, I assume it's the same in England, but it certainly is here, that probably 2 out of 3 checkout counters are now self-checkout, where the customer scans it. Now that's just the beginning. Obviously later on you won't even need to scan anything. It'll be as you walk through the door, every item will have its own chip in it, because the chips are getting cheaper and cheaper, and it will know what you walk through the door with, and it'll debit your card as you go through the door. So there'll be even less demand for the cashiers. So going forwards, I think in the retail industry, we're going to see a lot less people employed. The shelf stackers are still needed today, but what if we get robots 2 or 3 or 4 years down the line where the robots are going to do the shelf stacking? What I would be saying is
What the fuck?
the reduction in staff is clearly, they're using the national insurance contributions as their excuse to make more profit, and they've got plenty more things down the line that they can use to reduce the staff even further. It's coming. So those who have those types of jobs which could be replaced are certainly going to be at risk in the future. And I would say if you can try and find some extra skills so that you have a plan B when you lose your job, it's a good idea now to be thinking about it before you have no choice.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you to some extent, but I also think the companies are saying, they're being honest because their margins are really tight, and you increase the national insurance, and the first thing that will hurt is like the cost of employing people. So yeah, they do want to. The directors need to run a company. A company needs to make a profit. I agree, but I think also the government is to blame here, and I think. I can only say they're either very incompetent, which is probably true, but they were put there for a purpose, I think, and that is to make sure the economy goes down the drain, so people will ask for things like UBI. That's the way I see it. But and Clive, there's talk. For example, I saw earlier on Bloomberg and on other mainstream platforms that the stocks are rallying, the FTSE is at an all-time high, and people might be thinking, how is that possible? The economies are not doing well. We've got uncertainty about what's going on in the States. We got the war in the Ukraine still, which Starmer went to Kiev the other day and said he wants to 100-year deal to help the Ukraine. Well, so it's confusing. Why is the stock market higher? And I would say, Clive, it's because of this. Because the currency has been trashed so much, especially versus gold, that if you look at the FTSE in terms of gold, it's actually not doing very well. And I would say the same thing for all the other stock market indices, the U.S. indices included. It's kind of a false reality, I would say, because if you trash the currency so much, everything's going to look better in terms of that currency, but not in terms of the currency of kings. What do you say?
Well, the more the amount of currency on the planet increases, that more people have some of that currency, and therefore they're effectively all competing to buy the same goods. It's the reason why your home 20 years ago, 10 years ago, had a price which was way less than what you could sell it for today. And the reason is not that your house is worth more today. It's obviously depreciated because it's an older house, so all houses depreciate over time. But what's actually happened is that now there are far more people in your region who've got enough money to buy this house, and therefore the competition pushes the price higher and higher and higher. And in 5 years' time, there'll be even more people with enough money to buy it at a price several £100,000 higher than it is today, probably. So what I'm saying is, as they increase the supply of money or the supply of government debt, because as the government borrows money, it spends that money and someone gets richer. So they're putting more and more money onto the planet in terms of wealth. And it's always been the case, especially since we came off the gold standard in 1971, much more so after the global financial crisis. They bailed out the banks, and there didn't seem to be much impact on inflation then. And then they went into the COVID crisis, and there didn't seem to be much impact on inflation. But what was happening was the price of tangible assets, your home, gold, those sort of things. That's where the money was going. And right now, we're in the situation where, thanks to the automation, artificial intelligence and things like that, the price of the items in the consumer price index are not rising very much. So all that money which is being printed is going into things which are rising at a much faster pace, gold being one of them.
Well, one thing that's not going down in price, Clive, is eggs. I saw this on X. Dr. Sean Baker, the price of eggs way too damn high where I live. $10 per dozen, Washington State. So, can you imagine if we didn't have inflation of the currency? Because it's basically, it's not really money, is it, Clive? It's currency. But can you imagine if we didn't have inflation? Everything would be a lot cheaper. People would be a lot better off. But it seems like the Keynesians, they hate lower prices for some reason, which seems really upside down to me.
I wonder if we could use eggs as a store of value. How long would they last, Mario?
Not too long. That's why gold and silver are such a good store of value. And talking about that, Clyde, I saw some this here. Josh Philip Fair on X. Silver refineries in the U.S. are backed up more than 3 months. They're processing so much material into COMEX good delivery on behalf of the banks that industrial consumption is having issues finding reasonably priced silver. Retail investors are generally unaware of what's happening. And let's see, there's more here. Low, they should burn. They had plenty of warning. That says here, in 2022, U.S. imported $5.81 billion in silver, mainly from Mexico, $2.2 billion, and Canada, $800 million, Turkey, Switzerland, Kazakhstan. So, you know, if they put tariffs on Mexico and Canada, Trump said that it's going to start on the 1st of February, unless something changes. Is it possible that the supply of silver will dry up even more? Will he put the tariffs on the silver? That's something to consider. What do you think, Clive?
I think if they put tariffs on silver, there'll just be less of it coming into the United States, and it will start to trade at a bit of a premium in the United States. But that silver will still be out there internationally, so it'll be sold to international investors. So I'm not sure it'll affect the official price of silver, but I think if you try to buy silver coins in America, you're going to find that the premium, which might be a few dollars at the moment, might be 4 times that.
Yeah. So what else? Oh, the other thing I want to show you, Clive, and the viewers, is this here from Incrementum. You probably heard of them, Incrementum AG. In gold we trust. Ronald Peter Stofferly, and he compared here gold during previous bull markets. So the blue line here is the 1972 to I think 1975 bull market. The gold color is the 78 to 1980. And then we have this light blue here, that's like 2007 to 2011. And the red one is where we're now, you know, since we took off last year, you know, when we broke 2100, we're only here in terms of duration and how much it's gone up. So what he's saying here is gold's breakout moment. Are we witnessing history in the making? Gold has recently set new all-time highs in several currencies, and this chart reveals why this could be only the beginning. So, yeah.
All of these bull markets in gold occurred during my career.
Yeah.
And it's obvious to me that the present bull market, which did start in about 2024, is at this particular moment the shortest in all of history. But of course, it's not over; it's just starting. And I think that in all probability, it will turn out to be the longest in all of history. And the reason for that is simply there's a great deal of reluctance by governments to rein in their overspending.
Yeah, and they can't, and they have to keep spending. They have to, you know, we've seen Trump now. He wants lower rates because I think him and his advisors know that if the economy stalls, the whole credit bubble will implode because there won't be enough tax revenues. So I think he's going to inflate his way out of it. Is that how you see it too?
Absolutely. I mean, the solution to overspending has always been deflate or debase the currency. So, you know, in the olden days, the Roman emperors would clip the coins or add more base metal. You know, I have about 13 of these old Roman coins, the silver coins, but depending on which emperor it was, the amount of silver as the years went by became less and less in each of the coins.
Yeah, and here you can see this is a logarithmic chart, which means it's based on percentages. And there's the 72 to 75 bull market. Then there's a correction, and then 77 to 1980. Of course, here we had a, you know, kind of, had a bear market. And then we had this correction, and now we've finally taken off. But as you can see, Clive, it looks like we're in the first or second or third inning. In baseball, there's 9 innings. So, what inning do you think we're in?
Yeah, well, I would say compared with the history of gold, it's not much of a rally so far. It looks like the rally has started. It looks like it's got a long way to go to my mind. I think there's a lot of catch up to be done if gold is going to catch up with the increase in the level of government indebtedness. And we know that the government indebtedness is set to accelerate at a faster rate than ever before. So it's just a question of time before gold's pace of price increase starts to increase.
Yeah, one thing I would say to the viewers is that, and it's what I've tried to do. I mean, I've been at this since '02. I started buying gold, and in the beginning, I was like, "Oh, gold needs to do this. It's going to go to such and such level," and I didn't manage my expectations too well. I used to get upset, and I would say, don't worry about where gold will go in terms of price. Just keep stacking, keep an even keel if it goes up too much or if it goes down too much, and hold on to to gold and silver, because it's going to get very choppy. The higher the price goes in nominal terms, the bigger swings you're going to see. And what do you think about silver? I think silver is going to be even more explosive, Clive, because
Well, we're up 1.5% nearly today on silver, on the silver price. It will be. It should be more explosive than gold on the upside, but it's also to some extent beholden to the general level of the economy. So if we go into a recession, the demand for electronic goods will still be increasing, but it'll be increasing at a slower rate. And silver is at the moment being very much driven upwards, as it has been for the last 2 years, by the around 20% a year increase in silver usage in electronics. We're not going to have any less electronics, but you know, in a strong economy, we'll have the use of electronics growing much faster than in a slowing economy. But both of them are positive for silver. Just a question of how fast it goes.
yeah, and I think the Chinese government and the central bank, they're determined to, how can I say, make sure that the economy keeps growing. Late last year, they declared that they're going to, and this was the first time since '08, '09, they said they're going to have a moderately loose monetary policy. So, and I saw that Trump said that he doesn't want necessarily to put tariffs on China, that they need to work. He'd preferably not do it. So I think he realizes that if you put tariffs on China, it's gonna hurt not just China, but the whole world economy. And I think if you look at this index, the Commodities Research Bureau, or CRB index, it's telling me that commodities are ready to catch up with gold and silver to some extent.
Yeah, I mean, any sort of tariff on China will cause supply chain disruptions for companies around the, well, certainly for American companies. It'll increase costs, and in a way, the kind of areas which are going to be at risk would be those who depend on that supply chain. Companies like materials, consumer discretionary, industrials, technology companies, healthcare companies, they're going to be at risk in the United States if there are tariffs imposed on Chinese imports. On the other hand, the companies which make the things which are normally, the American companies which make the things which are normally impacted from China would be net beneficiaries. So it all depends on which side of the fence you are. But at the end of the day, putting tariffs on China would be relatively good for the gold price, because of the economic uncertainties that will create and the inflation that it will create.
So, Clive, I know it's a difficult question. So, what would your conclusions be from the first, let's say, 4 days or 3 days of the Trump administration, how it's going to impact the markets, the economy, the world economy, precious metals. I mean, to me, it seems like he wants to, his administration wants to keep the economy going. I don't think they're going to cut spending. I saw they want to spend 500 billion in AI. I mean, that's a lot of, that's half a trillion. To me, it seems like with what is happening, that gold and silver are going to be, and commodities are going to be major beneficiaries because they can't stop inflating, as we said earlier. I'll let you.
I think for gold and silver, there's no doubt about the direction of travel. When it comes to the stock market, it's a more difficult question. We are now multiple years, more than a decade